back to this week's episode of the Inter-University Debate Interface. My name is Douglas Onen. I am your host for tonight's conversation. Today, the country mourns a patriotic Iron Lady, Emat Cecilia Ogwal Atim. And the topic of conversation for the university students is eulogizing the late Honorable Cecilia Ogwal Atim. But also we shall talk about women and youth in politics, because I think it's pertinent that we have such a conversation since we have lost such a freedom fighter right from her childhood, and today she has had quite a tremendous impact in the country's politics, and it is pertinent that we remember her and talk about her and her impact in women and youth politics today. Joining me to this wonderful but saddening conversation, but I think one that will fuel better engagement and politics of this country, is a panel of energetic lady and gentlemen who are youth leaders, but also students in the university, but also recent graduates. I'll go ahead and let them introduce themselves.
Thank you, Drake, and good afternoon, dear viewers and listeners. My name is Augustine, Olowo, and I'm a young person. I am not new to this show, and we've always been here. I must say Happy New Year to all those that are viewing us. And that should be it for my introduction.
All right, you're being very humble, but it's all right. We shall definitely get to that. I will eventually disclose. The only lady on the show, we're very happy to have you here. I would really want to introduce you, but I feel like I don't have the powers to do so. So I'll definitely let you do the honors of introducing yourself.
Okay, thank you so much, Drake, and the viewers. Good afternoon. My name is Margaret Nattabi. I'm a student at Makerere University in my fourth year, doing Bachelor of Science in Agriculture. I'm a female youth councillor, Mukono Municipality, and as well I served as the 88th Guild Vice President, Makerere University. I'm so humbled to be here.
88th Guild President. You have proclaimed yourself.
No,
but it's all right.
88th Guild Vice President.
Perfect. All right. But she was also an aspirant.
For the 89th.
Yes, for the 89th. And definitely we're very happy to have you here. And we're looking forward to having a thrilling and interesting conversation.
Thank you.
Yeah. The FDC man who speaks FDC, moves FDC, and wears FDC. You're most welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Drake. Masawi Ivan is my name. Biomedical medical engineer. I'm also a youth leader at the Forum Democratic Change, but also in Bale City at the division. I'm also now a long-time member of this panel program because I've been here now growing old since 2019. I don't know, since 2019 I began here with Matanda. It is almost Honorable Mbabaka Matanda, now Chief Magistrate Kibuku. I'm only almost hitting 5 years at the Inter-University Debate, yet I'm now a graduate of Kyambogo University. So I'm really grateful to CCG, Civic Space, and to Mr. Moderator, sir, for the opportunity you render to me, to FDC, and to the country, and to our viewers as a whole. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We're definitely happy to have you here. Much as you have graduated, congratulations. CCG is always home to everyone here, and you're always welcome. And that is what we aim at doing, nurturing the young generation of new leaders. So, on 18th of January, that was last week, we lost an Iron Lady, the late Honorable Cecilia Ogwal Atim, to cancer. And she was 77 years old, quite old. In my culture, naturally, when someone is old, when they die at such an age, we celebrate them. We don't mourn them, but celebrate their life. And from that perspective and from my culture, I would love to celebrate Honorable Cecilia Ogwal. So as we begin this conversation, we are going to eulogize her and remember her. So I'll begin with you, Ivan. The late Cecilia Ogwal was in UPC, very strong member of the Uganda People's Congress Party, but also a founding member of your party, the Forum for Democratic Change. From the perspective of FDC, kindly, how do you remember her?
Thank you very much. The little I know, or I have, even the little times I've come near her, I think she has represented the Mazaro role of the party. The party has never had any elders, its mother, ever since its history in 2005. Yeah, I think of late she has been a grandmom, because you could go and check through the number of party members, both in the parliament and outside parliament, that were through her hands as an investment, not only in terms of mentoring them politically, but ethically, morally, to be able to represent the word leadership better. So the last time I was at Parliament last year is when I last saw her. I happened to have gone to see the Chief Opposition Whip Honorable Nambeshe that day, and I met them together. From my party perspective, I think the party has had the biggest blow in its history in terms of the word a female leader of the party. Someone who called the party, even in last year as the party had issues of division, the only person who would call that, I want to hear from the Right Honorable Nandala's side of the money, and someone responds to her that, Mama, this is what and what transpired. And she wants to be biased to mix up words. I think has been the Honorable C. Ogwal. She has also represented the party at the Pan-African Parliament, the party as the chief opposition whip under the leadership of Wafula Ogutu.
And the president praised her for that.
Yeah, she is widely known. I have not, I think, I don't know whether my research or whatever information I have about ladies who are as old as she is, a mother of 10, but with such a rich history in terms of leadership, not politics. You know, leadership, politicians, we have very many women who are good politicians, but we have very few mothers. You know, a mother be a leader. But women be is why they are woman MP. Women, you can be a politician, but a mother, you're a leader who have carried such great weight to Uganda's democratic growth and advancement, like Cecilia Ogwal. Whether we go back to the 1970s under Amin, where she was still very an active member in pushing for the coming of Obote II, where she was again working as an Assistant Secretary General until the rebels captured. Even with the rebels capturing, she still had a hand in the 1995 Constitution draft. So we mourn as a party, but my condolences to Uganda as a country, to the people of Lango, to the people of Northern Uganda, and to the women. You know, the women's space in Uganda
Is narrow.
I think it was growing, but where it is having issues is the quality. Cecilia, the Honorable C represented the quality. I happen to have seen a time when FDC had her and she was mentoring the likes of Winnie Kiza, the likes of Beta Ola Chan, the likes of Anna Deke, and you'd see the ones who are a little behind her, like Beatrice Anywa. You would see a real difference between a mother of a party and a lead politician who has come to do politics in a party. It exists. So it is a blow to the Parliament of Uganda, because we need to learn how to even tap from such people resourcefully, that even at a certain time, I think she was being tied to even also remain in Parliament, given the gap she knew she would have left. Part of her speeches last year was that she was not coming back in 2026. But even with that speech, you would see that some people she had held herself hostage of her. This is not the Museveni hostage of saying I'm the only one. Oh, it is me who best understands Uganda's problems. I think she had what she was adding to Parliament, especially on nurturing, especially on the development of better legislators. If you ever got any chance, even when watching news, and you found her on the budget committee, she would ask detailed figures in numbers. That explains her history in her biography, why she was the best mathematician at Sacred Heart and even in the country by her time. I think she's just a blessed person that any parent or anyone would wish any young girl or upcoming girl, you would give as a reference towards learning, because if she's a person who has a Miss Uganda fast runner of hard times, today people think maybe today being a Miss Uganda, your brain politically is unlike my sister who may have both like her. But today, I think Miss Uganda should also pick a leaf that you be a leader in society. You don't just be someone, a flower. You don't end a flower. You have a hand, a voice to add on to advancing and growing society. That is
Perfect, perfect. Augustine, just from where my brother Ivan leaves the conversation, he gives us a tremendous history, the impact that Imat Cecilia Ogwal had on the party Forum for Democratic Change, which I think, in my opinion, is quite evident that she was not only a mother to the party, but she was a leader to the party. She has nurtured, as he mentioned, a couple of ladies, but also men at the same time in the party. Now let us look at the nationalistic point of view. The president, on the 23rd of January, that is on Monday, he went ahead and declared that the late Honorable Cecilia Ogwal is going to have unofficial burial, which is quite rare that some parliamentarians, when they pass on, unfortunately, don't get it. But it's evident that the late Cecilia has obtained that status, that the state is even going ahead to officiate her burial. Let us speak to the impact she has had on the national politics.
Thank you, Drake. And let me first give my personal experience with the Honorable Cecilia Ogwal. The Honorable Cecilia Ogwal has been our chairperson for the Pan-African Women Organization that those of us who are familiar with the universities have belonged to.
As I can see, you're putting on the shirt.
As a center for mentorship for the young people, especially. So for me, I remember the first time I met her and we were talking about Pao. She asked me just a few questions that made me realize this is a very good person to mentor me and to nurture me. Unfortunately, it's not been too long since we last met, and since she went out of the country, or she became ill. And as people of the Pan-African Women Organization, we will miss her. At our university, I patronize the young students there who run this club or this association of the Pan-African Women Organization. So getting back to the nationalistic point of view, I think that the Honorable Cecilia Ogwal has represented some of the values that we need from leaders in this country. I think that in that parliament of 500 plus members, I think Cecilia Ogwal has been just one out of the very few leaders that we've gotten there. And therefore, yes, the nation is right to mourn her. The nation is right to celebrate her in all ways and giving her all the kind of befitting send-off that there is on this land. And I think that the country taking charge of her burial is one way to celebrate her, and we must appreciate the person of the president for that kind of gesture towards a very distinguished leader. Being chair of the Pan-African Women Organization, you know that she has pulled a lot of big figures in this continent and in the world at large to come into this country, and she has marketed this brand of Uganda out there, and that is what we need from each and every leader that
definitely you wouldn't think that she was actually opposition when she was representing Uganda outside.
Yes, and that is the point that I was coming to, that the Honorable Cecilia Ogwal, being opposition, she did not mind. She did not choose the side of being transactional like the leaders that we've seen we see these days. she would speak truth to power, but also holding in mind that she's opposition. And you never saw her even at one point attempt to cross over to the other side. So that gives us hope as young people that you can still be a good leader and influence decisions and influence policies without necessarily being transactional or being abusive. You know, these days people abuse so that we can recognize that they are leaders. Eh? Like you go on Twitter and someone is abusing others because he or she wants something from that leader of theirs or of ours. So the Honorable Cece wasn't that kind of person. And so it gives us hope as young people that we can still do that and then serve our community. The other thing that Cecilia leaves behind is the question of patriotism. So if you looked at the life of the Honorable Cecilia Ogwal, you would basically understand that patriotism is basically not the love for the president, but the love for your country. And if you love your country, she says, you will love the people around your country. You will be able to speak truth at all times, and the truth will set you free. So
she was very honest.
Yes, she was a very honest person. And at all times, regardless of what function she's attending, she spoke truth to power. And also, most importantly, if every time she asked for change in something in this country, and that change was effected, she appreciated. So the question of being grateful to what we receive is also the other thing that the Honorable Cecilia leaves behind for us to copy from. That if you asked me for a cup and I gave you the cup, go out there and be grateful. And I think you can quote that in 2 of her famous speeches at the National Prayer Breakfast meetings normally. So the first year she says balance the boat, and in the second year she appreciates that the boat is starting to do what? To balance. And so please, those are some of the things that we can keep reflecting on the Honorable Cecilia Ogwal. Otherwise, this country, this continent has lost a very important person. Definitely. But we only have one option: to celebrate her legacy and live her legacy and try to copy the good things that come out of what she lives on here on earth for us to learn from, so that we don't regret in future for not doing something we could have done while during our time here on earth.
Thank you. Maggie, as a student leader, a youth leader in Mukono, definitely I believe or have a feeling that Imat Cecilia Ogwal has had an inkling of impact in your life. And if maybe not, I believe the other young ladies out there who have had or drawn inspiration from her work and for what she has done for this country. Speaking for the women and for the young people, I'd like you to address us on the issue of her leadership. How has her leadership had an impact on women and girls in politics?
Thank you so much. To begin with, the Honorable Cecilia Ogwal is mainly known for her advocacy for women and girls' rights. And at least for all the times I've seen her speak, all the times I've listened to her speeches, every time she gets a chance, she'll get that microphone and at least say a word on behalf of the girls and women. And she's not only, you see, I've seen a lot of women leaders, when they get a chance to speak or to represent, they're mainly representing their constituency. But she's speaking for all women. She's speaking for all girls, for the whole sub-region, for the whole region, for the whole country. And that is so special because most women are in parliament and most of them are through that affirmative action. They are women representatives in parliament. But how many times, apart from them sitting in parliament and doing the legislation, the normal parliamentary legislature, how many times do you see these people advocating for women? That has been so special with her. And even when she was opposition, if a member, maybe from the government, sometimes I was seeing Honorable Miriam Matembe talking about her, that when an issue came and it is to support women and girls, regardless of who the person is, she would listen, she will guide, and she will want to cooperate with them to see that the voice is reached. So in one way or the other, all girls have benefited. And like my brother was saying, she ran for the Miss Uganda, and I was thinking about it. I just realized of recent that she ran for Miss Uganda.
And she won.
And she won. How crazy was that?
And you're also going to
No, definitely I'm not running.
Why?
I don't have
You
the
could-
qualities.
You did. You are.
But yeah, I realized someone can be a Miss Uganda and still deliver in leadership. Also, another thing, this lady has advocated for women's rights, but she has been a mother.
of
You see, most of the women advocating for our rights, there is that tendency of making other women feel like men are really not
Bad.
important. Men, you know, but she has shown
She
us
balanced
that
the
you
boat.
can fight for the women and you also be a mother, you be a wife.
Good.
So that, if any girl can learn from that, I think it is the best message you can take home.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Be a mother, be a leader, be a wife. I think that has been spot on.
Be a Miss
Yeah.
Uganda.
But also, Drake,
Yeah, but-
most importantly, I think there is the other thing that we are going to fail to recognize the Honorable Cecilia for, and that is the love of God. Eh?
Yeah,
Every
definitely.
time she spoke, you would see
Exactly.
somebody who is who has a divine connection with her Creator.
I think
And
when we talk about that, allow me to interject briefly. If you watch every breakfast meeting that was held, when she was called upon to pray, she
Yes.
prayed with a lot of vigor and power and passion. And everyone, if you are watching, you'd be like, wow.
Yes. So that is the other value that Cecilia leaves for us to learn from. That you can be a leader, okay, let's say politician. I don't like using the word politician, except to those that are politicians, really. I don't know that Ivan is a leader or a politician. But we have had that conversation on leader versus politician over and over. And my sister here is familiar with it because her principal always speaks about it over and over, that he's not a politician, but plays movies. But you see, you can be a politician or a leader and then at the same time love God, which is what is lacking in the fabric of some of us, especially with, if you have been to a traditional constituency, you have known that someone is in parliament and in the village people are speaking things that don't even add up, especially about their divine or religious or faith life. So yes, Cecilia showed us the way. For anyone who wants to be a leader, you must love God.
Definitely. Ivan, we have spoken about Cecilia's impact on FDC, on the country. The people of Dokolo would mourn her the most. You're familiar, you watched the game of Lao versus, I think it was Lao versus, what was the other?
West Nile.
West Nile. And when they beat West Nile, how they celebrated with those shots. Quite an emotional moment. The impact that she has had in Dokolo, but in Lao, but in general, northern Uganda. The people of Acholi and Lao love their leaders passionately. And every time a lioness or a lion falls, we feel the impact. Let us speak for the people of Dokolo. She has left very huge shoes to fill. And the question that I think many people are asking is, has she been mentoring someone from Lao or in Dokolo that would possibly take up from her? I think that is not something we need to assess. Assess her impact in Dokolo, but also the question of mentorship. Are we going to see another Cecilia from Dokolo?
Before I talk on the question of Dokolo and mentorship, I still want to carry from FDC the party to FDC in parliament. My boss, the Honorable Nandala Mafabi, is one of the most stubborn men I know. But if there is any woman who put her to order very fast, is the fallen mama now, the Honorable Cecilia Ogwal. The Honorable, on Monday this week, Parliament had a special sitting to recognize her works. It was the first time in 1.5 years, ever since I think voting out of Honorable Zake as a commissioner or something, that Parliament was full of capacity. It was also the second time members from as far as the 6th Parliament came back to Parliament in cognize of a colleague or a comrade. When you look at all speakers, given even with the Right Honorable Kadaga, who is her OG at Sacred Heart, her own product, I can put it right. You come, the two current speakers are FDC materials. They were under her. Anita Among was our treasurer in FDC. Tayebu was a deputy spokesperson of FDC. Still, that was when the Honorable Nanda was the leader of opposition. She was still a senior member of the party. All this, when you look at the best 10 legislators in parliament, they are all people whom she has had a hand. Whether the Right Honorable Mpuga or where, you will find they have a connection with Mama Cecilia Ogwal. So, the biggest loss is even not only to the people of Lamu, to the country, to the quality of legislation every year passing by. That house is degenerating in terms of quality of the debate. It is sad that there are a lot of us here who also notice that we could even perform better if we were given an opportunity. But this is where the country is diverting. People have voted because of sugar, salt, soap, and cows in some corridor. So the direction the country is taking when such is even now the current state that we had now, G77. After this, we need senior members to have an audit to guide government. She's one of the most exposed women on the continent when it regards to Uganda's going to Pan-African Parliament and the likes. People who would best guide in such a parliament with a lot of junior members in age, and those who are senior closer to her absentees who don't add much to the house. So, coming back to your story to the people of Lamu, many people in her district have given testimony before even her death of her being one of the biggest investors in education.
Sure.
They don't know how many bank slips she carried to the bank when she's paying for fees. Given one accountant wrote was in the Daily Monitor testifying that she ever went to his heart as a teller with 22 bank slips on a Monday when students are reporting to school. And she also never knew the names and schools, but she would say, pay that one and deduct. That is the kind of person she has been to her community. When you reduce to Lango has gone through a lot. The Honorable Cecilia Ogwal and group had the chance to join their brother Joseph Kony to overthrow Museveni. But she chose to call for peace with the Betty Bigombes and the likes. She has had the chance of advocating for the late President Milton Obote when he was in exile. Until at a certain time she was fooled by one person who now can also praise her this and this. She was fooled and she lost whatever she was advocating for. These are things she would tell you if you're going to consult about politics. But to the people of Lang, I really don't know. You know, the North has, in the last 2 years, has had a very bad time.
Yeah.
Very bad, especially legislative-wise, given we've had a speaker who was their voice person. We are having now a senior cadre who was even more senior than the speaker also. And then they are also having issues of Balalo, a lot of porous issues attacking the North. So to me, I just extend my condolences. But my humble request to the parents of the North is they should use such an example to invest in the girl child in the North. Gone should be the times of marrying off children for petty issues like animals, petty issues like Christmas cloth. Yes? I think Cecilia Ogwal should be more of an inspiration. I want to go to Dokoro on Saturday and find roads. This is Cecilia Ogwal Road, Honorable Road. This should be reminders to parents on the quality of the beauty a girl from the North carries when she carries that beauty. Not on, you know, we have known them to be very beautiful in the brain. That is known about them. But if she carried all a lady of that age of era of 1944 born, a mass of 10, but has defied all the odds. raise your kids, care after your husband, serve Ugandans.
Shows the multitasker.
Mentor. I think it doesn't only but even me, I also want my daughter to
On
also
that point,
emulate that.
there's something, you know, it's funny how in this generation, when you're having conversations with women, not all of them, some of them, when you have maybe productive conversations, they'll tell you, I'll carry your child, I'll be a mother, and maybe I cannot. You know, they find it somewhat quite difficult to do all that the late Honorable Cecilia has done. So I think on that point that you're building, you should speak directly as well to the young girls who would like to emulate.
I'm really humbled. I have a guild president who will fight for us, the boy child, to also have children in her remarks. So she will respond to that.
Definitely. All right.
But I think the all in all, I think it should even not be to the girls, but anyone in society. Even you as a man, you want to be a parent, you're responsible for your daughters if you'll have one.
True.
She should be an example why you should invest in education and sending your daughters into leadership spaces. Her being in leadership space doesn't only carry weight to her and her family, but all those girl people in spaces, in the halls in Makerere, in Chikoni, who feel that having such a woman contesting or running for guild president raises their fear, arrests their fear, raises their determination and their inspiration.
Yeah.
That is it.
Beautiful. Augustine, as we maybe move the conversation forward to the impact, the women and youth in politics, just like us to wind up on this and speak about, he mentioned something to do with quality of our legislation over the years. The quality of our legislation has greatly, or each year it greatly declines. If you see how parliamentarians articulate issues in parliament, someone could argue that even secondary students who engage in debate tournaments articulate issues better than them. One, people argue that the legislators are not reading. They're oftentimes engaged in work that doesn't involve them. Maybe from the legislators' perspective, they would argue that they have very many constitutional issues that they're dealing with that maybe affect their work output. Maybe you could speak to that.
All right. I think that in terms of quality of legislation or quality of leadership at Parliament, I think there is no doubt we need to appreciate that there is a bit of, there are people whom you really see that have value for the votes that were given to them. And a majority of those that went to that Parliament rightfully and they were voted in and their MPs now do very good work. There are those that were planted, you know. You and I know that their people were just planted there as well. At our place there, we know quite a number. So those ones really have nothing to add because they also have nothing to lose. Okay? So, and also, the experience that we are talking about, the knowledge that we are talking about the Honorable Cecilia is out of experience. But you see, if we want to send 50%, 60% of our legislators back home after one term, then we are not going to have the quality of debate that we expect. That one, I agree with it 100%. Because you see, if you have a 5-term period in Parliament and you're voted in today, the first 2 years are for you to be familiar with Parliament, where are the toilets, the kitchen is which side.
You need 2 years for that.
Yes, you need actually over 2 years. And after during those 2 years, you're also trying to understand where do I pick a loan from. Ask her who has even been at the helm of being a guild vice president, for example. But each one of us here has been part of the students' guild. At a university where you've been for quite a bit of time, when you're elected or voted into office, you first take a few months out of the 9 months discovering yourself. Now, remember these people we are sending to Parliament. Sorry?
Not 2 years.
Yeah, but you see, these are 2 months out of 9 months.
And surprisingly, you need 2 years to understand one building and
surprisingly, the guild leaders that you are alluding to, they serve for approximately 12 months.
No, 9 months.
Okay,
they just serve for 9 months.
Let's just use your context of 9 months. They have 9 months. and they use even not more than 2 months, from your example,
Yes.
to understand the system. Now, you have
The
legislators.
system which they have been part of. Because you see, she was vice president after, for example, being a GRC somewhere. So, but let us not lose
It's
the
all
point.
right.
Let us not lose the point. Let us not lose the
Your
point.
voters have had you 2 years
Like
to
you need,
understand.
yes, but that's the truth.
It's
You need
alright,
about
you
2
can
years
carry
to understand how parliament operates and also to dust off yourself from the streets.
I'm saying it represents
In 2.5, after
after
2.5 years is when you really start understanding what parliament is and how
But someone in the manifesto clearly ascertains.
what I am saying is actually that is the cream of leaders that we have. They take about 2 or 3 years. By the time they are starting to get serious, parliament is ending. Of course, they are fast learners. For example, in that parliament, the Honorable Joel Senyonyi is a first timer, but you know he's performing very well. Okay? So, but there are those that have been there for a very long time, and you only see them in the parliamentary corridors. They don't speak anything on the floor.
I think the most important thing is we need people who read.
We are talking about and remember, we are talking about quality of legislation, not quality of learning and so on and so forth. So we need these things ultimately come with experience and exposure. For me, I have a friend in that parliament who reached parliament, and after 2 months, he had understood everything. But those are very few. So also there is a popular saying that society chooses leaders that are like them. So sometimes I sit down and I'm like, you mean this is how Ugandans are? So you look at a member of parliament maybe commenting on an issue just by the corridors of parliament, and you're like, what has this person actually said? So sometimes the quality of our leaders goes back to the quality of voters.
The citizen.
You see us who have, for example, accessed some classroom boards and we've gone to school. Do you know that some of us here don't vote? In fact, most of us don't actually show up to vote.
You say
most now we are representing young people.
Not on this
most
panel,
of our young
vote.
people. For me, I
have one. We all vote here. Just say some of the viewers.
I have a few young people who are very close to me, and they advocate for change of government. On election day, we went with all of them to the village to vote because we all vote in the village. And I can assure you, on the voting day, those guys didn't show up to vote. And they keep telling us how we need to change this government, how we need to do this, we need a young man. But the young people don't vote. So, in summary, if we need quality of representation, we must invest in quality. The other day, I was telling young people as we spoke that if we need leaders, don't call leaders to come. Be the leader yourself. Like, if Ivan wants to see quality of leadership, which I also want to see in that parliament, let us stand out. Let's get out and go ask for votes from our people. Yes, you may fail the first time, fail the second time, but you won't fail the third time. For example, because the young people are afraid of failure. You see that? So, let us invest in leadership. Let's invest in... of course, for me, I think that the infrastructure of parliament is to the extent that a legislator can research as and when they want. Because you see, you have an updated iPad. Some of them don't even know how to use, I am told. I've not been there, but I'm told. So you have no excuse, for example, on why you don't make research. But I understand their point that they need to take a very long time before they can understand parliament. You also know legislators who have not been to that parliament more than 15 times since we elected them. It is high time we recalled them as young people and as women in this country who represent majority of the voters and majority of the population.
All right, perfect.
Young people don't fail. They learn. When you use the word fail, you hinder very many from going to learn. Learning is part of the process.
Yeah, and failure is part of that process.
Are you speaking that as a motivational speaker or
no, when you say failure, someone will think this game is when you fail and it's done. No, the one where you continue is a learning one.
Yeah, but you see, because when you fail the first time, you go back, it means you've learned. You fail again, you learn. That time,
failure be part of learning.
I am saying failure to become.
All right, gentlemen. Let's just have the lady come in briefly. Olowo has spoken to the quality of legislation, and my brother Masawi was speaking to the impact that the late Cecilia Ogwal has had in Olowo and the people of now. But he also mentioned the point of quality of legislation. Let's now take that point. I still want to bring it down to the quality of young girls in leadership that we have today, juxtaposed with the quality of women who are in leadership today, and how have we degenerated, or we think we're making progress? Looking at Cecilia, Ogwal, and looking at the leaders we have today.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That's a very hard one. Because looking at her as an example is a very difficult one, because she's a rare breed, that I must say.
Wow.
So we might not be able to be like her, but we must be able to learn from her and produce that better version of ourselves.
Wow.
So according to the quality of, I'm going to talk about women right now in politics and the young women. And when I mean young women, I talk about people like me, those that are coming, and those slightly above me. Now I'm going to talk about women, like those ones currently in parliament and those kind of positions. Really, when you look at their quality, in comparison with her, we are way, way, way behind. Because it's like people are just jokers. I rarely see our women leaders. You see, we have this affirmative action, and it is really helping us raise numbers. The numbers, I think we have to some extent. But the quality is still bad. It is still bad. We need to up the game. But I also think, going to the discussion he was giving, most of the women we have right now in leadership, when they didn't come because it was their intention, and they were not so well prepared. You find someone has never even been a class monitor, and well, they come to parliament, and due to the nature of the voters, as he said, this person is going to find themselves in the parliament.
And sometimes
And
the nature of the wave.
Rarely, you do not expect someone like that to be to that standard, to that quality like we want them to be. And the problem is, I think with us, the young leaders that are coming, we've tried to be through the process. We've tried to engage in these spaces. We are trying to debate. We try to research. But when the time comes, we have this fear. We fear to take up the spaces, and we leave them to people that really do not deserve them. Young women fear to take up the spaces. And the current nature of politics today in Uganda, especially to the opposition, is kind of tricky, and it scares a lot of young girls. There are young girls that are really not in good terms with the current regime, and they would wish to be on opposition, just like the Honorable Cecilia Ogwal. But when you look at the things we go through in opposition, I've been beaten, I've been jailed, I've been manhandled during arrest. And when a young girl who really wants to be like me, or even better than me, sees the things I go through to become the person I want to become, they might take a step back.
They have questions.
Yes. And that is, it will just continue to damage the quality of the leaders we produce, because we fear to take up the spaces. We fear the repercussions. And if we go on like that, we are not going to be able to reach there. Another thing I've seen, the late Cecilia Ogwal has been in opposition, but she will not refuse to. You'll find, if, for example, Museveni is somewhere, she will come and attend. She will listen to him, make notes, and if permitted, she will come and criticize. Now, with the current opposition we have, just attending a function where government officials are in attendance, the whole media is going to be about you. Of recent, I just attended the Young Leaders program. It was an initiative of the First Lady. Okay, me in attendance, I went as a young leader. Because when we are in this program, they are not preaching NRM. They are bettering the future young leader. The moment I went, I put on my tag, took a pic, and I posted.
You've joined.
Messages started coming into my inbox. Thank you for supporting the NRM. Thank you. So people got this letter of the First Lady signing to permit us to go to that. And so they circled the name and the signature attached with my pic. And now, guess what? I'm supporting the NRM, Chigati, you know, those things. But if we leave only those things to maybe the young leaders that are in support of the NRM, they're going to produce this quality of leaders that we do not have. And guess what? When we come to maybe to fight them or contest against them, they're going to be delivering a message that is kinder, better than ours. And guess what? They're going to continue flood the parliament as we are left behind.
There's an English saying that keep your enemies closer. And the Right Honorable Cecilia did that perfectly. And in her keeping her enemies close, she criticized them and she had the impact she had.
Exactly.
And that, I think, exonerates your point.
Exactly. And she knows that being opposition is not just saying no to everything. Where someone deserves
Positive
credit,
criticism.
give them credit. When it needs criticism, you see that even when she has been calling Masawi my brother, she has accepted that here you've done good. But where she knew, I was part of the people that brought the Constitution, 1995. But when it comes to age limit, I'm like, no, you shouldn't do that. You get. And this is the kind of leadership we do not have. We are not supposed to get closer to the ruling government. You do that, it is a crime. But how are we going to get a chance to tell them what really hurts us, what we really don't like? And the moment we keep that side behind, we are just lowering our quality as the next generation. And even when I look up to such people like her, I may not be able to even go a quarter a mile of the journey they've been.
So sad. When last year, when the Right Honorable Norbert Mao signed a cooperation agreement with the current government, he was heavily criticized.
Actually, when DP signed a cooperation agreement with the NRA,
he was heavily criticized. But behind closed doors conversations have it that even with Cecilia, Cecilia has worked with the government and they've had impact in the country. I think maybe for us, the younger generation, we need to know how to keep our enemies close and work with them, even when we disagree on principles, on issues. But when it comes to the betterment of the country, the betterment of the citizenry, because we need to distinguish politics and leadership. We need to be leaders. Exactly. Leaders who serve the interest of the people. Politicians serve the interest of themselves and the interest of what? Keeping power. I think the young generation needs to understand that. But unfortunately, even in university politics, when, let's say, your example, you took a photo when you went for the youth leadership program at State House.
No. It wasn't a State House, actually. Yeah. It was in Ginger in some hotel.
Yes, that event. People thought otherwise.
Very nice on white t-shirt.
That's reaction alone.
But Drake, you see, politics of tolerance is important. Being opposition does not mean you're an enemy of the government, and unfortunately, our people haven't learned that. And the people who sell the idea of this one ate, this one did this one is in bed with so and with the is it junta? Those words of yours, are actually young people. For me, that is what actually hurts me most. Yeah. The moment you share an image of you anywhere near State House, even if you were just passing by where you aspire to be, they will assume you're in bed with State House. And the people who will abuse you on TikTok, X, and all these other things are going to be your fellow young people. I think we need to be grateful for the opportunities that we get. We need to also understand as young people that we need to create an open ground for discussion amongst ourselves. Because what stops me, NRM, from interacting with you, for example, FDC, even me, I'm an example, NRM, for example. So what stops me, FDC, from interacting with him, Nope? Because you see now, there are FDC that doesn't collaborate with Nope. And unfortunately, there are young people there as well. So let's create safe spaces as young people for us to grow up as leaders and not just politicians. And let us outdo the current curse that there is about working with each other. And I think that is what the Honorable Cecilia did with distinction. Being opposition simply to her meant giving alternative positions. And I think that is what being opposition surely is. Because you know what, in the end of all this, we are all Ugandans. We are all East Africans and we are all Africans. And therefore, we shouldn't create these boundaries of this is opposition. This. How do you actually even distinguish between opposition and government? For me, most times at work, people give me Today I am Noob, tomorrow they give me FDC. Basically, and the other day they give me NRM. Basically, because sometimes when I see Bobby Wine speak, and I am like, yeah, this guy has spoken. I think this is how a young leader should speak. And then the following day, I see President Museveni, and I'm like, wow, the president has spoken. So sometimes even that conversation within us, we don't create a fertile ground for that to happen. Basically, because everyone has their own president. President Rotaract, I don't know where. President Nupap, I don't know where. And all these are our presidents. But we need to appreciate that in a country, we can only have one president and speak in reference to that one president. If we don't recognize that, we will have problems with government all the time. Because where we are supposed to hold this person of the president accountable as young people, we don't recognize him. How shall we then hold him accountable? Because for me, if I am a young leader in, for example, one of the opposition parties, right now I should be asking, they promised this, what have they done? But if you don't recognize them, how will you ask such questions?
All right.
And they are very hard questions,
some
by
of us
the
do
way.
not want to ask the questions of what have they done.
It is what we have to ask.
No, first
because
we want them out. We don't want to know what they've done.
For the last younger years of my age that have been in politics, I can say, especially I'm unfortunate in my era, I've been born in the opposition. We have not had an issue with the word president. Neither have we had an issue with the word leadership. We have had an issue with the word governance. The process to people putting themselves in government. There is no way we shall have kind words and a kind space when the acts of people who put themselves as government are still as evil. As long as there are still political prisoners in this country, people still crying, there are still people who are running into exile in this era. There are still people in this era who are still captured today, and the families can never know. They are still land grabbing in this country. There is no way you will force me, a Masawi Ivan. Yeah? I will not say Museveni is evil, but me to say I believe in Museveni and his leadership. I'm a hostage. I want to make it clear. I'm not in Uganda at peace. That I do anything, I go and vote and go back home, sure. Reality. Yeah? There is no way I can come here and pretend that I'm towards the Uganda you want. Cecilia is, she made it clear, she's unique. Given she has been in government, she was in UPC, she has seen another generation of government. Some of us, we are uncertain. We have lost friends who have that young as they were in this very government, that we were dreaming to see another until what brought them problems. So the whole issue, I think we are even diverting from women in politics debate.
But also young people is a conversation.
But yeah, but as long as we had last year female members of parliament, women who are organizing Women's Day, were harassed, marginalized, picked like thieves in drones, and I felt hurt for my sister in Kalangala, how she was mistreated. Cecilia came to the house and brought this issue to debate. The Right Honorable Speaker Among, Anita Among, had to go to CPS, get them bond. And then the next day told them, no, as long as you're out, these issues we shall handle. But really, I think we are responsible for working for the environment we yearn to see. We may have thought that Cecilia was fighting for us, thinking she may be so desperate. She was not. She also knew how she just wanted the best environment for her grandchildren and children maybe. But us ourselves as individuals who have the responsibility. It's why for me, my case, I put it very clear. I'm not here comfortable that I'm in FDC because I want. I've never wanted to be in FDC. Time came in FDC when Muntu left, I even joined to work with Papa because there was no FDC at that time. People were in division. I've never wanted to be in opposition, but it is not my dream. My dream is to be in a government, but a government that represents the wish of society.
Yeah.
So, me, I will never have kind words, whether it was criticism or what. Majority was truth. She never spoke lies. It was truth. I think the issue here, when we talk of people who have died, even where they spoke truth, you just want to say they spoke well. The character to build here is building women who speak the truth. Women who deal with reality the way it is. Not just women who will come and say, I'm fighting for my fellow woman, I'll go and beat there for her. I think they should never be again similar characters. Come again, come, go. I mean, never tortured women. He dealt with fellow men most of his time. But this man has dealt with women seriously. When I gave you, if you saw her, she's one culprit. I remember I've seen her on drone very well.
But
at least for
which man are you talking about?
She's a good culprit. I observed myself. So, women who want to carry up these shoes.
The woman handled you, and Ivan is saying you are a good culprit.
Yeah, I know her pain. Because I know her pain. I saw it, and good enough, she's now a good testimony to those who go to her for it. She will be a good Cecilia. Now, my request to viewers, the young women, be very truthful. I think I don't want to sugarcoat Cecilia Ogwal in any other mafia way. She was a truthful person. Most of us, we shall come here, we look very wise in our words, but how truthful are we?
Yeah.
I think even when you look at some of the key figures who are close to her, like the Abdu Katuntos and group, they are very truthful. And once you're truthful, is how you'll be able to influence the kind of political environment you are.
But Masawi, how is that possible in a country whereby you speak truth to power and you whisk away in the drone?
Now, that is what I wanted to tell you, that is where we all have issues with. I don't think I am very much associated with the Kenyan politics. It's why quite often I always want to go there for study and benchmarking purposes. There is no way in any serious country with serious democratic spaces, with serious democratic growth, that you'll visit and find a figure of Cecilia Ogwal was in FDC, or was in opposition. With all the resources a country needs from such a person to run a government, with all the resource and expertise, the seniority, and such a person is in opposition, there is a problem. And that's the problem. I don't want us to shy away. When Museveni has those she spares because she was maybe aged mate. She spared that because maybe when she was she knew how much she robbed them in 1980 after winning the election. Because Cecilia Ogwal was Assistant Secretary General of UPC. There is a lot that about Cecilia Ogwal that she has gone through in her prisons for fighting to see what we are seeing today. And to certain, when the president came during his parliament, when he went to stand with the family, the words he speaks, he knows how much that most people are referring to her as resilient. This is not resilience. She was anti-fragile. Those two people are different. We have seen resilient women. You can say Matembe is resilient. She was with NRM. She was a minister. Those are resilient people because they were together and they have left and they have. But this is a person who has never joined the NRM to be a minister. She has left all those chances. Remained a woman in this side, criticized, and she was robbed. They were robbed. Obote was robbed. They won an election. Going to the bush was, they won an election. They were declared.
Under Museveni?
No, in 1980 they won an election.
But the man you're blaming is a different man again.
Who?
The one who robbed them.
Museveni robbed them. They went to the bush to come back and to justify that he was robbed. But they were the ones who were robbed by a gun. Them, they were doing things democratically. So, my request, even me, I'm not so truthful, but I'm a little Christian. At least I have my sister here, who I have much hope in.
She will assist you with some,
She will assist me in being truthful.
some truth.
She will assist me in being truthful. Yeah, to the viewers, let's invest in a truthful girl children, because even our children will be truthful. I doubt if we have a mom who is truthful and organized as Mama Cecilia Ogwal, who has even mentored children who are not her own to be the best leaders in society. I doubt if you had such mothers, your children could have a gap in terms of parenting.
Yeah.
So it is a key. Ugandans, we hate to discuss the truth. We always want to, we shall look, we create a space. We are a bit elite, intelligent. If those who are broke, we create some who are rich.
You're just in between.
Yeah, we do balance. Those who are unemployed, you play yourself, you're secure. God forbid. That is my.
All right, thank you. We're just going to go for a short break, and we'll be back to discuss now majorly. The conversation is going to drive now to young people. Much as we have greatly discussed women, the late Honorable Cecilia Ogwal and her impact on women, I think it's high time we also now took the conversation and talked about youth in politics, because the country is 78% young people, and I think the time is now. Otherwise, it's been a great conversation, guys. Thanks. Shall come back from the break shortly. See you. Bye-bye. Welcome back from that break. Just before we went into the break, we were eulogizing the late Honorable Cecilia Ogwal Atim, and the young people here eloquently spoke about Imat Cecilia. And I think in that same spirit, we need to speak truth to power and the breed of young leaders that we have today. So I'll just begin with Olowo, then I'll have my sister come in to help break it down, because her herself, she's a youth leader. So Olowo, you are a youth leader yourself, and you definitely mentor young people as well. But before we get into the mentorship aspect, let us speak, first of all, the quality of youth leaders today as we go to the aspect of representation, because the quality will lead us to representation.
Wow, thank you. I think these are two very critical matters for the young people of this country. First of all, in terms of quality of leaders amongst the youth, yes, we have a lot of people with potential to be very good leaders, and actually better than what we right now have. We also have a very, very bad quality of leadership, very poor, those that are currently into leadership. If you go to organizations that are supposed to speak for the young people, if you can mention each of them, National Youth Council, the one for students, and all those things, surely and honestly, they are supposed to work for us. Then you extend it to the youth MPs. They are supposed to be part and parcel of what the young people feel. Yeah. They are supposed to carry on with the responsibility of representing our facts right as they are, and not as they should be, or as they think. But if you look at those organizations, there are very few instances when they have called the young people to consult them on a number of issues. Some of those are only used. I normally like calling it what it is. They are organizations used to suppress the voice of the young people as opposed to raising the voices of our young people. And so that goes to the poor quality of leadership, the representation of the young people. Of course, there are normally a few who speak for us and speak about the things that we want to get. The other thing you asked was...
representation.
was representation. Yeah, in terms of representation, yes, we have 9 young people in every village. I don't know when those ones convene. We have 9 young people. We have 9 young people in every village. We have another 9 at every parish, another 9 at every sub-county, and then another, I think, 12 or thereabout at the district. And then they now form the other one. Now, those ones are 9 powerless people, 9 people who actually, majority of whom don't actually know that they are leaders in those villages. Because you see, if I am a chairperson of the young people in my village and I live in Kampala, I actually don't even understand when I was voted into power to be chairperson of the young people in the village. So those are the situations that we deal with in our villages. Sometimes, for me, I manned the elections for the young people in the last election, and I can tell you that there are parishes that I got to and there were no people, and so we had to look for people by force. Like, you be there, people are not there. Yes, so our representation is lacking. We have a list of names of people. I want you to just go to the Electoral Commission at district level and ask those people for a list of youth leaders and call those youth leaders. Call about 10. That could be a good sample. And choose a publicity secretary of village X somewhere and ask and tell him he's a youth leader. The guy will get surprised. Do you mean I am a youth leader in my village? I didn't know. So for me, I think that by structure, until it gets to national level, it doesn't make sense to me. Same thing with that of students. The one of students, you know, all the time what they speak about is accountability, so and so has eaten money. So we are not doing well in terms of representation. Away from that, at national level, at parliamentary level, we have less than 6 members of parliament representing the young people. That alone is also not good enough. Like, you have 60–70% of your population and they are represented by 5 people. And yet the women we have don't even make 6 and they are represented by at least 112 women in that parliament. So I think in terms of representation, first of all, it is a wrong thing to have 500 members of parliament. But if it is the order of the day, why you don't have to segregate? Do you know how many UPDF soldiers we have? We can easily say less than 10,000, but they are represented by about 7 or 9 members of parliament. They are now maybe even 11, by the way. They are now 10. 10 people represent UPDF. The young people are 80% of this entire population. And guess what? We are represented by less than 6. So I think that in terms of representation at national level, we need to do something about it. Yeah. If the norm is that they have to create offices so that parliament gets fuller or more full, I don't know, or filled to capacity, the young people should also be part and parcel of that. And then that will improve on the quality of debate. Because you see, people who are in that parliament, most of them are in the evening of their days. Like, they really can't sit there and they are researching for parliament. Most of the people who are good are in the opposition. But even when they raise their voice, people say, but you see, that guy ate. So we basically need to create that kind of space for the young people. And even if it is at the expense of merging a few of our administrative units in the villages, we can merge constituencies and create space for the young people to have a bigger voice at every level. You see, if you attend functions, even state functions, 80% of the people in this country are young. But they may only call a young person. Maybe one young person can speak at a state function, and he's not speaking because he has the thoughts of the young people. He's speaking because they have called him to come and give opening prayer, closing prayer, or just to sing as a musician. So please, if we have to improve on the quality of our leadership, we have to widen the space for the young people to engage.
All right. Maggie, let's take the conversation. He greatly talks about representation and quality. I'd like us to assess. His point focuses on quantity. We have 6 members, less than 6 members of youth members of parliament, and we have approximately 10 UPDF members of parliament. The UPDF members of parliament represent close to 10,000. And the youth members, approximately 6 youth members of parliament represent 70.
No, less than 6.
National female MP and the 4 others.
Yeah, they're less than 6.
They are 5.
Yeah, that's less
That's
than
why
6.
he said approximately
6.
They're actually less than 6.
But then also you have structures like ONSA, you have structures like structures like NYC, then you have the recently formulated body by Faraja, which is the Youth Parliament, which many people question it. My brother here was part of that parliament.
He was the Prime Minister.
Of the Youth Parliament. Let me even ask now
we shall come back to that.
Let us. How do they even elect people into the Youth Parliament?
He was very brilliant. He challenged me. I also feared him.
We shall come back to that. Let us have the ladies speak to the aspect.
But before that, you see, Drake, this is the problem that we have.
Yeah.
And that is the problem that Ivan puts across. Every time we have things that speak about us, we shield away from that. And let's first get back
but he
here.
said we shall come back.
We shall come back.
I was the leader of opposition.
I will put my hand for us to come back there.
Maggie, should we focus on quality? Should we focus on merit, or should we focus just on numbers?
Okay, thank you so much. And I really believe we need the quality and we need the quantity. For example, I'll take an example of the youth MP in Central Region. She has 27 districts. There is an MP in Parliament who has a constituency of 2 sub-counties. And with those 2 sub-counties, you find this MP will miss out on a lot of things in the constituency. They have PAs, they have a whole team of the MP, and they cannot fully attend all the responsibilities they have in that constituency. Now here comes one representative of the youth with 27 districts. Even when this person is of a very good quality, at some point they are going to fail to execute to their maximum capacity. So as we are looking at the quality, also quantity is very key. Because I believe in these 27 districts, maybe if we had 5 people representing them, maybe we would see more work than one person can do.
The rules of these MPs, do they even
execute the mandate? Okay, just as you answer his question whether these MPs execute the mandate, my question is in regards to young people. We have gotten comments from the current leaders that we have given space to young people. But the young people, when someone is making a submission, their submissions look more ideal than realistic. So how can we narrow that gap of debating from the idealistic point of view and look at reality?
Okay. What was your question once again?
Even the 5 don't speak anything serious. So I'm asking their role.
Okay, you see, me, I'm a youth leader. I'm not going to justify the fact that these people are not fulfilling their responsibility. But I want to give you from a view of a youth leader. Most of the youths, as we are voting our leaders, we do not pay attention to what they are promising. I was so active in this youth MP race that we had a very good candidate. This guy came and spoke and everyone was like, wow, I think he can be a very good MP for us. But guess what? He doesn't have money. Our election was in Mubende. We were given free transport from wherever you sleep and a hotel for 3 days, free food whenever you want to eat, free alcohol whenever you want to drink, and some huge amount of money, depending on where you come from and how much you can shout. You get? I wasn't a voter, but I was seeing things happen. Yeah. So you realize that however much this person is very good, people will be like, that guy was very good, but this person has really invested. They've really given us a lot. I think we should pay them. So also this person that is giving you money, you don't know where they're getting money from. Maybe it was a loan. So when this person goes to the place where they're supposed to execute their duties, they'll be like, but these youth demand me nothing because I really paid them. Like, I paid them. What are you telling me? But
a small substrata, you paid a small substrata and left the great majority.
My dear, you had a choice of choosing the best candidate who would represent.
Which then takes us to our conversation we had in the first half of the show. when do we speak truth to power and when are we honest?
Now, as he requested the listeners to be more truthful, I'm going to join him to request them that
Start with yourself because you said you were that.
She said she was. She said she was.
You weren't
but
but
I
you
was
are there.
watching. Yes.
You are watching, but
Yes. So the thing is, if we as the youth, we want to see a better Uganda, we want to see better leaders, I think we should not be myopic. We should vote someone because of merit, not because of what they are giving us. Someone is giving you 200K today. To a normal youth who is hungry, 200K looks a high amount of money. But trust me, 200K cannot take me for 2 days. I will not have a single coin after 2 days. So what do I have? And you cannot even meet this person to tell them, you know what now? This is what we need as youth. You cannot even find them. So it comes back to the leaders, like he said, the quality of the leader is directly proportional to the quality of the voter. If you vote someone who tells you nothing just because they give you something, do not expect quality from them. So it is a two-way thing. It comes back to us, the voters, and the people that are leading.
All right. Masawi, over the weekend, the Right Honorable Norbert Mao in the newspaper when he was trying to comment in the Saturday Monitor, when he was making a comment on the new electoral commission that was appointed by the president. He said a free and fair election isn't just the people who are appointed in that office. It goes down to the civic education that you give the citizens, not someone who sells their vote for 2,000 shillings. She mentions a point as regards to the quality of the citizenry. But even before what is the quality of the citizenry, let's first start from universities. Universities are supposed to be the center of civic enlightenment, the center of good moral upbringing, but also understanding state matters. But it's unfortunate that even university elections have been zeroed down to how much this person is offering me, but also the people who vote themselves have that same mindset that she says, this one has invested so much, regardless of the quality of the person that they're putting into office. I just request you to assess that.
By the time you conclude the question, I'd even forgotten where I started from.
So you can now confirm that young people don't.
He does read. Of all the young people that have watched, everyone on this panel.
I think I don't read. I've just consumed a lot from society. Where I live is enough. Politics today is about two things, influence and advantage. How has it come to that? Is the environment that we have given our politics. Is even academia being a real resourceful leader can give you an advantage, but having the money can give you influence. How did influence come into this? That those who had a lot and never couldn't get, who used this to also come into play. As long the politics of any country can never be separated from its governance, because governance ensures there is proper education. Governance ensures there is a better economy. Governance ensures there is human rights. Governance ensures there is security. As long as the education system is for hustle, is so expensive, is insecure, as long as the economy is so high. I've been to elections myself, even these ones of the party. But even you, the person who comes to you that give me 10K, bro, sees because he's seeing an opportunity in you for that day. He's seeing it as a job. If you're calling politics cheap,
So-called gig.
if you're calling politics cheap, let Museveni resign. We want to know all this budget that goes to State House. Why is he tying himself to power forcefully if politics today has not gone commercial? He's insecure himself. Is why I've told you, as long as governance has an issue, Eh? Now, in all people, you tell me I go and waste my souls and read the full article of Mao. I know Mao. These words were spoken by Mao. Last year, the very time Vyamukama was coming in 2017. The very words. Mao's words, since he's a brilliant man, you can transfer them from time to time. I think most people in UID, you can carry, or in UID, you could carry their words from time to time and time repetitively, and they still make sense. Eh? But the governance structures are responsible for. I want to be, viewers, you'll forgive me, including you, my boss here. Whatever we are having as representation is for fashion and design. It's not realistic, including the youth representation. How do you put for youth broke as majority of the people whom are in my age, 25 and group, to pay 3 million nomination fees? If you just look at the environment, I'm only going to stick to 3 million. And then reduce the academic qualifications to senior 6, but you pay 3 million. Who are you favoring?
A rich man.
A rich man, not the papers.
Not the quality.
Not the quality. She has to go to Mukona and plan being the woman head. I don't know when, but let me come back to my point. So, I feel bad because generally I've been there. We have seen all days. I found the Honorable Bakamatandas and group, the series, the Sembogas pushing. We came pushed. We are also growing old. I never had a beard, even one. Very short, very tiny. I've grown tall. And at least what I can conclude is we now have responsibility to do better if we ever get a chance. I have concluded that you will never say you will change politics without changing the core structures that build the human body. As long as the parenting, the education, the society, even the church, not this church of an Arsenal bishop, who will tweet more about Arsenal than tweeting more about issues of Uganda.
I think he should be more respectful to his, because he's not here to defend himself.
No,
but you're speaking truth to power.
Yeah,
it's a civic space.
Yeah, he wants to tweet when we had serious issues. When we have serious issues, he'll tell you that you will not hear any word from him. But the moment Arsenal is going to play or what, the bishop is very active. That is how.
As an Arsenal fan, I think there is no problem with that.
These are said we don't live by the standards of the world.
So is he living by the standards of the world?
He's in trouble with God, not me. So,
no, but you see, being an Arsenal fan in itself is a bad thing.
No, it is a good thing. It's a very good.
Let's not take it.
But let's continue.
You want me to miss the next show. So the issue here is, I think our generation, if we got a chance, should not all be about reading or nurturing. Should all about building the real environment that we deserve our politics. It has been really intoxicated, blood, captivity, segregation, tribalism, what? It has refugeed all the vices. You know, Uganda's DNA, she's a scientist. Uganda's DNA is now hard to tell. It is like, I don't know, that word will be very vulgar. Let me leave it. But my humble prayer, especially mentors now like him, is that if we yearn to have better leaders, let's not only prepare someone for the real politics, but for the internal politics of the person. Very many bright politicians have woken up today, tomorrow. It disappoints the people who I trust because internally he lacked the tiny Cecilia characters, prayerfulness, the truth, honesty, integrity. Giving money will even not be required to give on the day because you're giving for the vote. There are elections where you voted because it is your habit, you know, in Masawi when we get problem. In Kyambogo, people who knew me that maybe I have something, they never knew that I'll wait for voting to get it from me. It could be your habit. But this current government has just reduced her. You're going to be here. The NRM primaries start next year. This year. They reduce the whole environment. You find meetings in every restaurant. You can't even eat food. People are negotiating to gave
But you see, reducing it to NRM is even unfair. In the
no,
FDC,
but yes, it is
in
the biggest
FDC,
offer.
in the FDC itself, you know what happens there. So let's treat this.
I can tell you, in FDC, there is no price tag that to vote anyone there was money. Even these last elections, I've told you now, really, you vote someone in FDC, well, most people are known that where do they even have that money? But then people are like betting. Are you putting money? I'm going to be made minister.
You know, I'm listening to Ivan and I'm like, hey, which FDC is he talking for?
I am in
Because
FDC
you see,
Najana
in the FDC Najana Nkumbi, which successfully held elections, they managed to stifle the voice of the young people as well. There was a very able young man whom I have followed for a bit of time, Brian Okori. When Brian,
I'll give you
when Brian contested, I think up until today, I saw it as if he petitioned, and up until today, his petition has never been disposed of. They have actually been told, I think, to seek redress somewhere else, but not in the FDC, because they are trying to outdo all the moles in the FDC. So the whole fabric.
Now, how is that connected?
The whole fabric of course, I don't want to directly put how the stifling happened, but I want to say that the whole fabric, because that's not.
But it is also
that is not actually, because that is
not true the way you're presenting.
That is not actually.
Brian should have looked for a better of defending his loss.
This is it.
For me, actually, that is not the point.
Let us take the conversation.
What is so special with because Brian what is so special with him?
Because ideally,
you have to say
Drake.
What is so special?
Drake, ideally, my point, I don't want to drive it to that direction. I want to say that the fabric of our society is all broken. We need to have a national conversation as the young people and see if where we are comfortable with where we are now, and if we are not comfortable, what new things can we do as young people? Because you see, if I am treated unfairly in the national unity platform where she belongs, another young person should actually be empathetic to me and not rubbish my claims. So the whole thing about our society, whether you are NRM, whether you are NUP, whether you are DP, whether you are UPC, we are dealing with a bigger issue, the whole society, and not just a small political party. But you see, for him, his conversation pushes the whole road into the NRM.
Because that is the most. That is
the challenge with you have identified.
The most rotten part.
You also let's just have order. Let's just have order. Augustine,
the way we think here has not been spared by Museveni. We are reasoning like this because of the environment that have vibrated.
I am just requesting you in maybe in a minute, 60 seconds. Maybe you could clarify as he comes and responds, and we have Maggie coming as well, because our time is fast spent. In 60 seconds, paint that picture for him and conclude on your argument.
It doesn't need me to paint. He knows the truth. Yeah?
I need to move out of studio and see what is there.
When she's running to be the NOPF chairman, really, what much would they expect you to have boreholes for them? But once you're in NRM, they know you're in the system, you're in charge, you need to have. And it has been the ideology that you need to have. But the key issue is, let's put more of our emphasis. I'm not saying in FDC there, even in the issues that split FDC, there was money accusations that Nandara gave BSGM 300 million for what? To facilitate the people who keep votes.
I think election agents,
Election
polling
agents,
agents for FDC.
They have made politics that if you're poor, you can't manage. Nope had to have a fundraising campaign to raise money from voters in the last election in order to compete. Bobi Wine has to make a fundraising in order to raise fuel and facilitate an election.
But every
But
political
why
party does that.
And that's the kind of
Even
politics.
PPP does that.
Okay, when we are in a serious discussion, you avoid my notes. So my request is, even when we want to justify this design and fashion of representation, I think I no longer feel sorry for the youth. Even myself, I don't care. Don't feel sorry for myself. All you have is give it all you can. Whether you go and also because an elder of 50 years can come in the village and occupy a youth post, because the youth have been decided to less responsible for their own situation. We need to wake up and also be greedy as young people for our own spaces. We fight. I think if we were more greedy, Museveni would not be here by now. But we have had challenges of saying, well, we have now, we have over been complacent, is the word I can use.
All right. All right, Olowo, maybe yours as well in 60 seconds. So let's respond to him and maybe give us your recommendations.
I think that there is nothing much I'm going to put up as a defense on what he has said. We all know the situation that we are in as young people. We all agree that we need better, we deserve better, and we all agree that we can only work towards the better. So I think that's a good point for us to all begin from. The young person that is watching the show from wherever they are, you just need to sit down and ask yourself fundamental questions. What is it that we need from you? Because you see, it goes back to the civics. How many of you are actually aware that we have youth MPs? You know, these things, you can take them for granted. There are people who even don't know that we have a youth MP.
Very many.
There
I
are
think
those,
even 70% of the youth don't.
again, many that know that we have youth MPs actually don't know that there is something called the National Youth Council and its mandates. So, like he was asking, what is even the role of a youth MP? So, for me, how I decided to look at the youth,
9 billion to go and
how
teach us in Mbale to take coffee. We never took coffee.
how I managed to, but you can testify that your youth MP is one of the best performing MPs in that parliament.
Region. Definitely two best.
Yeah, if you look at the track records of parliament, you will be impressed of what your youth MPs do. But you have one youth MP.
He's asking who?
His youth MP.
Who?
This is the youth leader in Mbale. You should be knowing his youth MP.
I don't know, maybe I read the but all people have, like, the word she is your chibuled. You people have.
So your youth MP is
underperformed.
I think that is subjective.
Onen Mutusa is one of the best performing members of this parliament.
Yeah, I've told you my issues. How they took our 9 billion for coffee and took it alone,
guys.
and then they came.
But but you see, Ivan's frustration is easy with the individual. It took us to take coffee. We didn't take.
All right.
Let's say
very easy thing.
All right, guys.
Very easy thing.
All right, guys. Let's just have the lady come in and wind up the show. You give us your recommendations and maybe take home from tonight's conversation.
So, before I even give my recommendation, I'm going to take us back when it comes to improving the youth. He says one of the reasons we are not performing as youth is because of the society, the governance. So, this government comes with very good programs for the youth. But they just bring their good programs.
There are 3 governments.
They just bring their.
Talking about.
Let her make up.
I guess the listeners can understand the government I'm talking about. They bring very good programs for the youth. After consulting none of us, even when they say we've done consultations, you find that people they are consulting from barely youth. People are in their 40s and above, and they are the people that are planning for us. So they bring such a program like PDM or Myoga or YMP, which according to the documentation has very good reasons as why they are bringing it.
They are good on paper.
But then you just bring a program, you tell us to make groups, we get the money. Then we do what after? You give a group of youths 5M and they don't even know where to start from. They have the money. And what next? They're just going to eat it. You give us cows, you give us maybe birds, and everyone gets a cow. And what next? Someone is in a rental. You're giving them a cow to do what? That's why they sell them immediately after offloading them from the cars to get their money.
You guys even
to
get
survive.
cows.
Yes, people get them. Yes.
I'm here to receive.
Because people shared cows here in Namulonge. I went there to observe and see they were getting cows.
He has a wrong euphemism.
Yes. So these things have happened. They look like they come for a good cause, but we are not consulted and we do not know what happens next. We are not given that good mentorship that if you get this, you can actually do this. They should start with programs. Teach youth, this is how you can invest a given amount of money into the following things. How can you do it? Then they bring money when people know how to put it into use. So I think we are trying to improve the status quo of the youth. We need to involve them.
Yeah.
We have a government that brings programs and they will never monitor.
Never sensitize them.
They never sensitize, they never monitor, they never evaluate. But then they'll be like, hey, Museveni brought YOP, so what?
But I think
How many people have
you're a very
benefited?
good leader.
We shall have that debate another
so with such, I think the government needs to revise its programs and the processes and the way it governs us.
All right.
If they want us to better ourselves.
All right. So maybe a question that I think it's going to be a rhetoric is how best can the government do so? 65% of the decision makers are above the age of 65. That is the ministers that we have. So my question still stands.
If the government cannot find ways of satisfying our needs, then they're not fit for that job. They live and we get the best government that can satisfy our
Another
needs.
question will be, how will they live if young people are not voting? But nonetheless, the conversation has been great. Masawi, in 10 seconds. Everyone has given their recommendations. Your recommendations.
My recommendation
about the conversation that we have had.
First, I still send my condolences to the people of Lango, to the women in this country, to the Parliament of Uganda, and to my party, Forum for Democratic Change, for the loss of Mama Cecilia Ogwal, about the state of youth or the state of women in politics. I think it's just the flat line of the state of politics of this country. There are women like Kenyans and the likes who are still in prison because of leaving their babies to go and participate in politics. We all have a role and responsibility to advocate for the society we want to see. But I think we need to be more intentional as Ugandans. If we are to be honest, we need to be. My sister has given you dynamics from her office, which is near the city here, just the neighborhood. What of us who sit in the village? So we need to be more intentional about the Uganda we want to see. That is what I can conclude.
All right. Thank you very much, all the young people on the show. Sorry, Ivan, Margaret, and then Augustine, for this wonderful conversation. Personally, from where I sit, it's been a wonderful conversation. It's been an engaging debate. And for the viewers out there, I believe you would say the same. The future is bright. The young people that we have here are quite eloquent, informed, and quite determined to see the change that we want. And my sincerest condolences to the family of the late Imat Cecilia Ogwal Atim. And so that may her soul rest in peace. The technical crew, Rashid and team, thank you very much for making this show comes on airs on time. Civic Space TV, Center for Constitutional Governance. Thanks for the space and always having young people included. Otherwise, Douglas Onen is my name. See you next week, same time, same place.